Hi guys and welcome back. My name is Michelle.
Hi guys, welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. My name is Nina and welcome back to another episode of Carefree Queens, where we will be talking about Chelsea, the recent game, the next game, and just everything there is really around the club right now. As you can see, there's not a massive smile on my face, purely because Chelsea have been making me feel like crap recently. That's the truth. That's just one way to put it. And I know I'm not the only one out there feeling like this, but for someone that always tries to keep it really positive and tries to keep it very smiley, it's been very hard. It's been very hard. Michelle, how are you feeling?
Well, the state of mind you were in, I reached that state of mind 2 months ago, a month ago. So I think I'm somewhere differently than you are. Like I'm just at the point now where actually it doesn't bother me the way I think it's bothering you, because it's not really surprising me anymore. It's just the same thing week in, week out. But I mean, we did get a new manager, and that's going to be our main focus because he managed to get his first loss, and it's just depressing. Like I'm not even. I should be, but I'm not. I'm not mad about it anymore because, quite frankly, it's as expected. Like I'm just like slowly accepting that winning is rare and
Losing is the new norm.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's more for me, it's more because like you said, I think fair play to you because you saw this coming like a while back, and I think I was just delusionally hoping and just holding on to something that will change. But I think the feeling that I could mostly describe, that the best way to describe it is just consistent disappointment. But it's because I look forward to something new every game, and I look forward to, like I said this on my fan cam, I said, oh, I look forward to like a new fresh game, like a Champions League game. I look forward to seeing someone new, like even Bruno taking over after Potter was exciting because it just means we get to have someone new for just that game. And then obviously with Lampard's back, we sat here, we were so excited last episode. And don't get me wrong, I'm still excited, and I will get on to that a little bit later because I think how Frank deals with that defeat is really important, and it's a big turning point, and it will set the tone for the rest of the fixtures and will dictate how we finish off the season, because we said let's bring him in for for the confidence boost, for the purpose of the dressing room just brightening up and the players kind of believing in themselves a little bit more, because Frank is a leader. He's won the Champions League. He's a winning player, and that's why he's a legend as well and always will be. So for the purpose of that, that's why he was brought in. So there is still yet to see that be kind of implemented, and I still want to see it because the season's not over in our heads, and perhaps in our minds it basically is over because it's just been a horrendous season in general, and everyone's just ready for it to be called quits. But there's still very hard fixtures and hard games to play, tomorrow being one of the first of those games against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. So there's a lot more to come from that, and we already kind of saw that his reaction after the Wolves defeat was very different from a defeat that Potter will have reflected on. And the fact that he was critical of the game and said that this isn't up to standard and that this isn't accepted and it can't really be accepted as a good game, or the boys gave it their all, because frankly they didn't. It was one of the most awful performances. Potentially you think you can't see a worse performance, and then they top it off, and then there's a new level of low reached. And you look at the squad and you look at the players and you look at the shambles that we find ourselves in, but you also are almost in disbelief that this is Chelsea, because even when things are wrong, we still manage to somehow just pull the ends together and make it through. But this season has been very different, hasn't it? It's just been a roller coaster, really, and it's almost been trial and error throughout the whole season, and now we're finding ourselves in more errors than actual successes. So it's hard. However, I am jealous of everyone out there in Madrid. Let's just say that. I would love to be out there in Madrid right now, regardless of whatever. I myself would absolutely love to visit the Bernabeu, but we will see. How are you feeling about that game?
I don't know. I genuinely do not know, because I already thought we were out by the time we had to play Dortmund back at the bridge. I already called it quits back then, and I mean, I literally just didn't see us come this far, and I'm still gonna stick with a negative mindset or whatever, because I would rather get that hugely pleasant surprise of us actually going through. Like, I don't understand how we will do it, but I don't know. Literally my state of mind is like, if you're gonna surprise me positively, I'll take it. Like, I'd be more than happy to see it, but I have zero expectations, because I think I've said this a few episodes back, that it's just way easier not to expect anything, because they haven't given me a reason to expect anything, or like, they haven't really shown anything personally for them to deliver, other than doing a major comeback at the bridge for the UCL game against Dortmund. So I don't have that many expectations, but I will say that if I were to pick one of the sides, I think this is going to be it. I think we're gonna get absolutely torn apart. Especially after the game. What was it, last Saturday? And Frank coming, like, it's just, I just think that too many things that's not working the way it's supposed to work. And Real Madrid is just such a strong side. I mean, I would love the wow factor. I would love the surprise factor, but I mean, where do you think it's gonna go?
See, when you mentioned the Dortmund game, because remember we did that whole thing as a fan base. We gathered before that game, like hours before kickoff, and we've really like boosted just the atmosphere among ourselves and just around the bridge as a whole. And it was taken through into the pitch, you know, for the players as well. And it's almost like the players felt it and they played out their hearts, and that's why we won that game, you know, so convincingly. And it was such a good game, and it just felt like such a relief, because, you know, we did it. We had an expectation, and like you said, and you're not, you know, one of few, loads of people didn't see that coming and didn't think that it would happen, and that's why it was so surprising. But it's because we turned up. So that speaks to me that the mentality has been, you know, really low as well this season, because we turned up for that game and we had an absolutely completely different side to anything we'd seen previously. So if we turn up like we did for that game, the fans turn up, you know, everyone believes in it, and we just stand behind Frankie and just see what he can work, because I'm sure he is prepping with all his might for that game, because he has everything to prove. And like I said, Frankie doesn't need to prove to anyone that he has the club's best interests at heart. Like, that is just, if I'm certain about anything, it's that Frankie does want the best for this team, and he's going to impose everything out of his knowledge to see it through. So that is still what I'm holding on to, because quite frankly, I've been holding on to small, you know, smidges of hope all season. But that's what I'm feeling hopeful for. And like you said, Real Madrid are a terrifying team to go up against right now. If Benzema's in the mood to be banging in hat tricks again, then my goodness, we're in trouble. You know, our attack against Wolves, against Aston Villa, you can rewind to any Premier League game you want, has been awful. Our attack has been absolutely awful.
I was about to ask you that. How do you win against a side like Real Madrid when you do not have a player that's capable of actually getting the ball in the back of the net? I read somewhere, or I read myself or somewhat, that we had 24 finishes on target and we couldn't get the ball in the net for the life of us. And that's been the problem throughout the whole season. We cannot score goals. He even brought on Aubameyang. What did that do? It was just like, how do you see us doing this? Because I get your point of view with the atmosphere. It was phenomenal. I wasn't there, but I saw all the videos. And like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I get that the atmosphere can change a lot, because I'm a firm believer in the mentality side as well as the physical side. But we don't have a number 9. Who's gonna do it? Like, if we're gonna get down to tactics, how is it gonna happen? Like, I am genuinely curious, because we have a lot of quality players, but we don't.
It's not even about a number 9. It's just shooting. It's just as simple as that. Sometimes it's just as simple as having an accurate shot. I was absolutely screaming about that against the Villa game, because, for example, even someone like Joao Felix, he's absolutely a phenomenal player. He is so technically gifted. He is so technically, able to pass through players, to turn players, to do something that is exciting and we haven't seen before, and it looks great. But when it gets to that final point where you have to just finish off that job and look up and shoot, it just backfires. And we've seen it too many times. And that is the issue. That's why I keep saying, yeah, we do need a striker. That's a different story. However, even our forwards need to be able to at least be able to put in a shot at the back of the net, and it's just not happened. And you say that, and some will say, oh, it's a Chelsea thing. We'll be able to do it somehow. But when you look at it, theoretically and practically, it just almost seems impossible, because, Real Madrid have an absolutely threatening attack by the mile, and we've had one of the worst attacks, if not the worst, in the Prem this season. So when you weigh up the two sides, it almost seems impossible. That's just how to say it. I'm absolutely 100% hoping that something miraculous happens tomorrow, and it could, but I don't know. And then I think someone like Eden Hazard, who was absolutely amazing for us for so many years and set the standards so high, because he worked absolute magic for us, and we've missed his presence ever since. And obviously
as well,
it just, and I just worry, really. I just worry, because I know that the players don't really believe in themselves either too much. But if there is one game that you can prove to us fans this season that there is still a bit of a Chelsea spirit left in you, it is tomorrow's game. It is tomorrow's game. And yeah, we've been saying this about countless games this season, the next one. But I truly believe that tomorrow will speak absolute massive, magnitude for us, because it really will, because it's frankly now the most important game of the season. It is, because UCL is all we're in for now. It's the only tournament that we're still in, we're still competing for, we still have a shot at. And there's no point about thinking, of the semis or the final. We've got to take it as a game of its own, because that's what it is. Regardless of what happens at the Bernabeu, we've got to host them at Stamford Bridge after as well. So that's a whole other game of its own. And I just don't want us to get embarrassed. I just want us to play a good game of football, to have our best, shot at playing up front and scoring potentially. But it's almost, when you see how awful shooting has been this season and scoring as well, it's just like, what are we hoping for?
Because that's the thing, isn't it? That they are very much capable of it. All of them are very, very, very much capable of scoring. But it's almost as, personally, I feel like if you're on the edge of the box, you should have a shot. You should most definitely have a shot. And we haven't really been doing that. And I genuinely do not understand. I understand you cannot coach someone to score goals, but you can absolutely coach them to finish in certain areas of the fields, etc., in certain situations. And I don't, like you said, both of us are huge fans of Zhao, technically, etc., etc. But I would be an even bigger fan of him if he would take the shots earlier on. Take the shots when you're on the edge of the box, because you absolutely never know. It could hit one of their defensive players, and then it could mislead the goalie completely. Like, you never know. And it just baffles me, to be honest. It baffles me that we hold on to the ball for the amount of time we do, instead of just taking our chance, because we might not have a number 9, but we have so many players who are capable of actually kicking the living shit out of that ball and make sure it's going to go to the back of the net. Especially Mudryk. When he just arrived at the club, I don't know if he still is doing it, but he was staying behind to practice finishing. It's a lot of disappointment. And like we said before we started this episode, what are we even going to talk about? Because it's just disappointment week in, week out. But I think something that's going to be really interesting is Rüdiger. Personally, I absolutely loved him. I'm like gonna sound like a crybaby, but I cried when I watched that video of him.
I'm looking for a tissue.
He's cutting onions. But I wanted it to sell my body to be back at the bridge to see him arrive back. I think it's going to be really interesting to see our side play against someone I personally thought was very, very, very chills. Eden Hazard as well. What trouble do you think he's going to cause us? Because we both know what a maniac he is in that defensive side, even in the offensive side.
I just want to say first, I saw Rüdiger put something out into the media that he is very surprised at us this season in general, and that his experience playing for Chelsea was a very different one from what he is seeing, you know, being produced on the pitch and behind the scenes as well. And you know, when you look at somebody who was absolutely such a crucial character in the dressing room, because I firmly believe Rüdiger was one of the most crucial characters, especially in our Champions League campaign, and especially just in massive games in general. You know, his character was never short of anything than just pure motivation, pure excitement, pure character, and just in every possible way, you know, physically and mentally. And that's why we cried so much for him. You know, it just wasn't because he was a brilliant defender and he was, you know, an absolute bloody explosion.
It meant something to him more than
it meant something to him. You know, playing for the badge meant something for him. And, you know, that's where you kind of look at everyone in our squad and who we've bought, because we've bought so much quality. But, you know, really, who does know what it means to be proper Chelsea? And, you know, it's hard, of course, to settle into a team and immediately be everything, know everything about the morals and the values of the club, etc. Yeah, that's difficult to settle in and immediately feel that. But to at least know what the standards are, and that's obviously why Frankie coming in was good to help for that aspect of it. And because we miss those characters, you know, like Rüdiger, like many more, too many to name. It's just almost, it feels like there's not really anyone apart from, you know, like Thiago Silva and Reece James and maybe a few others that know what it's like to play for the badge and to love the club so much. And that's why I think Rüdiger is almost disappointed, you know, to say the least, because he loves the club. He loves the club. No, I mean, I probably think that he is expecting to see a very shaken and not so Chelsea side tomorrow, you know, and that's maybe an advantage for him mentally as well, because obviously now he's going to be obviously playing in white. You know, he's no longer a blue, but he knew regardless what it was to be a blue, and not many of our players now know that. And I think that's where a lot of complications come from as well, because if any one of those players think it's acceptable to be sitting 11th in the Premier League, it's obviously not, you know. So
personally, I think that's where buying whoever you can for the whatever amount you can, like, that's where I personally think money is going to be an issue, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I personally think a lot of the players we brought in came because of a paycheck. I don't recall watching anyone really bringing a passion the way I prefer to see a player bring passion for a club. Like, it's just been, like you said, it's just been disappointing. To be honest, I expect you have half the mentality that Rüdiger had. Half the mentality that Thomas Tuchel had. I genuinely expect you to have expectations for your teammates, expectations for yourself, expectations for anyone, because this is a project. This isn't just it's just, that's why I personally think that losing Rüdiger was a way bigger loss than some might even have thought or said or whatever. So I actually think it's going to be really tough to go up against him, because we all saw that he brought he brought that exact same mentality and loyalty to his new club. He was 5 games in, and he nearly had a concussion and blocked from his head. Like, he is just a player you genuinely wanna copy paste mentality and passion wise. What do
I
you
think
think?
that's why it hurts so much. I think like you're absolutely spot on with what you're saying, because that is why it partly hurts so much, because and those players set a standard for you, as a fan and as someone that just watches football, really, just anyone that watches football and, loves the club. They set standards for us, and that's why it's so hard to sit here and accept anything short of it, and to watch, these players that, like you said, supposedly are just coming in for the money and, are getting their minutes, getting their playing time, getting their salaries at the end of the day because we can afford that. And what are we getting? Just no passion and no drive, and that's it. And even the Liverpool game, we sat down and that game infuriated me so much because we were just so ready to hear the final whistle blow. So ready. I've never seen a team be so looking forward to a game ending as much as we have. I've never seen anything like it, and you've got to be fighting until the end. You've got to have that fighting spirit, and that's why we keep screaming passion, 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 at times even more than just good football, because I do truly believe that having passion will mean that you do end up motivating yourself better to do better physically as well. So, that's what has been hurtful, that it's just nobody seems to be wanting, or not nobody, but not as many of those players seem to be wanting that for us as much, and it's translating. So of course it's going to hurt that we did lose those characters, and even though we signed so many players, I don't know if we signed anybody who carries the same mindset. And it's not to say that it won't come, and you can argue it. You can sit here and say Mudryk was basically watching Arsenal and putting it on his story and saying that he, wants to play for them and that he's an Arsenal boy or whatever, and he came to Chelsea and was a blue the next day. But, you can argue many sides to it, but regardless, you wear the badge, you wear the kit, and you play on that pitch for that team. The least you should be doing is actually trying your best. And in regards to goal scoring, we are scared. We're scared because we're missing the shots, or we're not putting the ball at the back of the net when we can, but we're also not doing it earlier either. Some of those players are scared to take the responsibility to shoot because of what might happen, because obviously, quite frankly, we're clearly crap at finishing, so they know beforehand they're probably not going to make it into the goal. So why not just release it, pass it on to someone else, release the responsibility on someone else? That's not what being a Chelsea player is all about. You got to take the responsibility, take the shot, and bear the consequences. It's either 9 out of 10 times it will probably go in if it's a clear-cut shot, which it has been so many times, So that's the thing. And even that Wolves goal, I sat there and I watched that goal, which was superb, by the way. Fair play to Wolves. I sat there and I thought, we would have missed that chance. He had all the space in the world, but I'm pretty sure we probably would have found some sort of way to take too many touches to attract the defenders onto us and just either have a block or either just boot it anywhere but the back of the net. And it's just so frustrating. But you know what? Fair play to everyone that's out there, to Madrid. Look at those fans. They're still going out there and they're still paying their money, and they're still going out there with hopes that it might be something different. So fair play. And you know what? Even if we lose, at least you're coming back to Britain with a tan. So, there's always that kind of good side to it as well. It's very warm. Michelle will be sat at home watching that game, but fair enough, the atmosphere will probably be good. And at the end of the day, you visited Bernabeu if you haven't, because that's probably on my bucket list anyway, to visit that stadium. So massive game, massive game. Chelsea going over to play Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. I guess that's a good way to leave it, and to just ... Chelsea, please. Just bring something. Just bring something. Just please make me excited. I can't bear it. Can't bear another humiliation.
Oh, you are so different from the first episode we filmed.
I am, because everything.
You're just drained now. Like, the club has absolutely drained the life out of you. But no, you. I think we more or less covered the things we wanted to cover. Like we said, we feel like we're repeating ourselves because, quite frankly, there isn't that much of a progress within the club. It's disappointing. Has been disappointing for a very long time.
Someone said expect the loss. Anything else is a bonus. And I don't know if that's a good mindset to have, but I mean, like you said earlier, no expectations, no disappointments.
No.
And great. And that's a wrap.
Cut. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We do try to stay carefree, but it's getting harder and harder. And as you can tell, Nina is getting more and more drained. I think I'm not carefree. I think I'm careless at this point. But nonetheless,
we'll change the name of the show. Careless Queens.
Careless, not carefree. We're gonna rewrite the show now.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I thought, I hope it was amusing. I hope it was entertaining, nonetheless, to listen to our conversation, our complaints, and yeah, we just hope to see you in the next one. Do you have anything to add?
No, thank you guys. Just like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below, please. We do really appreciate your feedback. And yeah, see you soon. Up the Chels.
Cheers. Bye.